Yeah. It's that Roland Jones. Easy come, easy go. You know, and I hope we're not saying that about our democracy pretty soon. Easy come, easy go. Because it wasn't easy coming, but it sure was easy going. I guess we're just going to let it die, huh? Just going to let this motherfucker die. Oh, yeah, we don't need democracy. We got magic Twitter communism. Didn't you hear? All we got to do is, I don't know, pretend we're socialists while supporting the neoliberal establishment, like Vosh. I actually don't know what that fucker even really stands for half the time. I'm so sick and tired of seeing his fucking name on trending. So fucking tired of it. He does one debate and leftists won't shut the fuck up about him. And then you look at the debate, you look at what they're actually debating, it has nothing to do policy or anything. It's a bunch of hypotheticals. Really? That's what we're spending our time on. Hypothetically, maybe what's moral? Who fucking cares? I mean, it is important philosophically. It is. But none of that shit is going to fucking matter. One iota when the fascists take over. We're not going to be debating morality when we're systemically losing our rights to a fascist regime. Imagine being a Muslim person seeing this happen. Imagine being a Chinese person seeing this happen. Ironically, I know a lot of Chinese people that support Trump. We just can't have nice things, guys. So, this is a shitty plan. So I've been trying desperately to give the neoliberals some kind of credit for acknowledging that the country and their party will soon become completely irrelevant. They see it coming, but it's that neoliberal brain rot that Kyle Kulinski talks about. It's that neoliberal brain rot, honestly, because this is not the plan. This is not the fucking plan. Have a listen to this shit. Oh, we got to listen to a commercial real quick.
Schumer finally reveals his plan to get voting rights passed and get Manchin and Sinema on board. Schumer finally reveals his plan to get voting rights passed and get Manchin and Sinema on board. On Wednesday, CNN congressional correspondent Manu Raju reported that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, DNY, has outlined his plan to get a pair of Democratic voting rights bills passed through the Senate in a way that he hopes will get holdout Senators Joe Manchin, DWV, and Kyrsten Sinema, Diaz, on board with a rules change that would help it get around a legislative filibuster. The plan is not entirely worked out, but basically involves the House passing the voting rights bills together as a message resolution, allowing debate to begin without a filibuster on the motion to proceed. This would still mean the bill would be subject to the 60-vote threshold to end a filibuster in order to get to the final vote, but at this point Schumer would have the Senate actively debating the bill and, if things go to plan, show Manchin and Sinema that there is no other way of passing the legislation they have signed on to. The two voting rights bills in question are the Freedom to Vote Act, which cracks down on partisan gerrymandering and sets minimum standards of voter access across the country, and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, which restores and fixes the preclearance standards for voting law changes that the Supreme Court gutted in 2013. Republicans are broadly opposed to both bills. Manchin and Sinema have both endorsed these voting rights proposals, but have opposed changes to Senate rules done on a party line basis that would be necessary to pass them.
Guys, so am I reading this correctly? Okay, hold on. Let me just see this breakdown here from Manu Raju. New in memo, Senator Chuck Schumer tells Democrats this is the process to change the rules. The House will act first. What the fuck? The House will act first. The chamber will send over a piece of legislation that includes both the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. House rules may act tonight. Once the House passes the bill, it will come over in the form of a message from the House that allows them to skip the first procedural vote in the Senate and get into the bill with 51 votes. To get off the bill and move to final passage, they would need 60 votes to break a filibuster, and getting 60 votes won't happen. At that point, Schumer would likely move to change rules. Why aren't you changing them before you start this? Why? Why? I ask you. But Manchin and Sinema are opposed. Who cares? Steamroll them. Eliminate the filibuster and then pass it with a 51 simple majority. Why are we still fucking with these people? And why? I mean, come on. Come on. Schumer says, of course, to ultimately end debate and pass the voting rights legislation, we will need 10 Republicans to join us. Not happening. Which we know from past experience will not happen. Or we will need to change the Senate rules, as has been done many times before. Change the rules, pass the bill. What the fuck is this? Message from the Congress? Message from the House? Holy shit, guys. God damn it. What is the allegiance to this filibuster? I do not understand. I do not understand. So there you go. That's Schumer's plan. It's garbage. Mitch motherfucking Connell, man. Mitch the bitch. Coming out here with I love how he pretends to be offended. The man's a traitor. The man's a traitor and fascist. And he's so incredulous. Oh, I can't believe they said these things about me. The theatrics. I mean, he seems rather dispassionate about it, to be honest with you. He's kind of just going through the motions here. It works, though. It works. Especially, I would love to see Mitch McConnell try to operate the way that he operates if his opponent wasn't intentionally weak. If his opponent actually fought back. Mitch McConnell would be a pussy-ass bitch. But no, he gets to look real strong, real forceful, like he's in full control, because his opponent is fucking lying down. I'd love to politically challenge the neoliberals. I'd love to. Wouldn't it be great to have an opponent that just fucking, oh, should I lie down on my face or on my back, sir? Do you want to stomp on my face? Okay, thank you. That's how the neoliberals are. All right. No one gives a shit.
Republican leader Mitch McConnell took to the floor Wednesday to attack President Joe Biden after a fiery speech in support of voting rights. McConnell began by saying that Biden unfairly compared those against the Voting Rights Act to historical villains George Wallace, Bull Connor, and Jefferson Davis. All of those men opposed the Voting Rights Act and opposed the right for people of color to vote. Take a look at McConnell's defense.
But yesterday, he shouted that if you disagree with him...
Shouted. We saw the speech. Shouted is not the right. I mean, this guy. Oh, he shouted at me. Oh, can you believe it? Why don't you crawl back into your shell, you fucking fascist?
George Wallace. George Wallace.
Yeah, George Wallace.
If you don't pass the laws he wants, you're Bull Connor.
Like this man hasn't steamrolled the other side a million times. Like, this man hasn't passed legislation that the other side has vociferously disagreed with. It's unbelievable. Can you believe he's going to try to pass a law that we disagree with? Holy shit, man. And they buy it. And they fucking buy it.
You oppose giving Democrats untrammeled one-party control of the country. Well, you're...
One-party control of the country? Are you that worried? This man is so worried about making it easier to vote that he is 100% convinced that if more people are allowed to vote, his party will become more and more irrelevant. That's a tacit admission. That's an admission of the whole situation. Oh, if you make it easier for people to vote, they're not going to vote Republican because everyone hates us. Well, that's not fair.
Bull Connor. And if you oppose giving Democrats untrammeled one-party control of the country, well, you're Jefferson Davis. 12 months ago, this president said disagreement must not lead to disunion.
Now Mitch the bitch is worried about disunion. The man who has explicitly stated his mission several times through several administrations has explicitly stated his mission is to obstruct and stop any legislation. The man who filibustered his own bill because Obama was going to pass it is worried about disunity. The amount of dishonesty, even though you know he's a fascist, is still shocking, is still just galling. That he would say that with a straight face. Look at his face. Disunity? Since when have you given us shit?
Disagreement must not lead to disunion. But yesterday he invoked the bloody disunion of the Civil War. The Civil War.
You're bringing it to us, you fucking fascist. Who's the one passing all these laws to make sure we don't have the right to vote? Who's the one who's in the party of Marjorie Taylor Greene? I got the article. We're going to show it. Okay? Talking about, I guess we're going to have to start using that Second Amendment privilege against the Democrats. I don't want a civil war. I want a mutual divorce. Your party is talking about civil war. And Joe Biden acknowledged it. It's honestly shocking that he gets away with this. It's honestly shocking you can be this dishonest, this much of a bad actor, and serve in Congress. And in fact, it benefits you. Shocking. Shocking.
To demonize Americans who disagree with him, he compared, listen to this, a bipartisan majority of senators to literal traitors.
Because you are. You're a traitor to this country. Your party was the one that voted against certifying a fair and legitimate election. I don't care if you personally disagree with it, Mitch the bitch. It's your party doing this. You're traitors. Madison Cawthorn is a fucking traitor. Easily. The founding fathers did not create a system where one party gets to rule forever. Mitch.
How profoundly unpresidential.
Shut the fuck
McConnell
up.
then attacked by...
Now, this is great, too. Look at these quotes from Mitch the bitch about how much he loves the fucking Voting Rights Act.
Biden saying that the speech was below his office. But Biden's main point was to call out McConnell and 15 other Republicans who were willing to support the reauthorization of the Voting Rights Act in 2006, but now are refusing to do so.
I cannot think of any reason why anyone on either side of the aisle would oppose the protection of the franchise of all Americans. Leader McConnell, 2004. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 represents one of this country's greatest steps forward. Leader McConnell, 2006, that he was overwhelmed to witness such a moment in history when the Voting Rights Act passed in 1965. Leader McConnell.
As early as 2016, he says shit like that. And he just sits there with a straight face and goes, I can't believe they called me a traitor. All we're trying to do is civil war. Because all we're trying to do is do a civil war. All we're trying to do is take over the country and make it impossible for liberals to ever get voted in again. We're just trying to take away your right to vote. Get this man off my fucking screen. Get this traitor off my screen. Well, so since this is relevant, since it was brought up, let's go ahead and do this one next. I hate to use this language, she says. Do ya? Do ya? Because I bet you said it with a fucking smile on your face. I hate to use this language, but we need a civil war. When are these treasonous sons of bitches going to be put behind bars? When? I'm going to read this one. MTG on Tuesday floated resorting using the Second Amendment to deal with Democrats who are imposing what she described as a tyrannical government. The neoliberals are a lot of things, but they're not tyrants. They're too big of a pussy collectively to be I mean, they're tyrannical in their own way. Let's be real. But like the tyrant that she's describing, no. Joe Biden is no Mao Zedong. Joe Biden is no Stalin. Okay? Joe Biden is no Putin. It's easy for me to say that, though, because, you know, from the perspective of a third world country that's getting bombed by the United States, everyone from the United States looks like a tyrant. But that's not what she's talking about. She's talking about, you know, pushing back on Stop the Steal and saying you have no fucking evidence. You know, carving out the filibuster. Is that tyrannical when your party has done it dozens of times? While speaking with right-wing media personality Sebastian Gorka, who's a fucking traitor, Green slammed Georgia Democratic gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams for her policies regarding both vaccines and gun rights. Green then pivoted to talking about how Americans are guaranteed the right to bear arms to resist such supposed tyranny. Really? The voting rights bill is that's where you're whipping out the guns and you're going to start killing lefties. So that after we make it legal to hand someone a bottle of water in the line, that's tyranny, guys. Allowing people to vote by mail, that's tyranny. These people are fucking mentally ill. Ultimately, the truth is our Second Amendment rights, our right to bear arms, this is a quote, that protects Americans and gives us the ability to defend ourselves from a tyrannical government, she said. Another quote, and I hate to use this language, but Democrats, they're doing exactly what our founders talked about when they gave us the precious rights that we have. This is 100% projection. This woman is part of a party that is making the founding fathers spin in their grave even faster than what the neoliberals are doing. Easily. They are a fascistic party filled with fascists. Green earlier this year was stripped of her committee assignments due to her past statements supporting the execution of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, as well as her conspiracy theories about numerous school shootings being false flag operations. I'd like to note that this woman is easily getting voted, you know, easily has the votes. No one can challenge her. Incredibly popular. That tells you something about the right wing in this country, about what they want to do. They want to stop the debate. They want to stop talking. They want to start shooting. They want to start shooting to solve their problems. That's exactly what they want to do. All right, let's hear what she. I didn't know there was a video. Let's hear what she actually said.
They're coming for our guns and for our civil rights.
They are not. Did Obama do that? Is Joe Biden even talking about gun legislation? Is there a single gun a gun bill on being voted on? Literally, is there anything to do with gun legislation at all happening right now? Local level or nationally? Someone tell me. Someone please tell me there's at least one bill being proposed, something being proposed that could potentially be interpreted as liberals trying to take their guns. I mean, it's It is a statement without any fucking fact behind it. It's like literally saying they want to shoot us with bee guns. They want to shoot us with bees. It's like that guy who's like saying, "Oh, cure COVID, drink your piss." Okay, here's a fresh cup, buddy. Have a sip. Tell me how that goes. Take his guns. If anything, leftists want to get more armed for obvious reasons. Honestly, is there a single bit of gun legislation being proposed anywhere? Anywhere. Take their guns. Take this nut, bitch.
They're coming for our guns and for our civil rights, are they not?
Oh, of course they are. As a matter of fact, Stacey Abrams, who is running for governor for the second time in Georgia, in her announcement speech, after she said that she would pursue aggressive vaccinations of Georgians, the next thing she talked about was grabbing people's guns. She hates Georgia's.
The next thing she talked about was grabbing people's guns, huh? So we're not talking about a bill. We're talking about a statement made on the stump by Stacey Abrams. And we're not even using a quote here. She said, "I want to vaccinate a lot of people." And then she said, "We're going to grab your guns." Really? People love it. People love it. Desperate, poor, rural Americans love that shit. Eat it right up. And there's no alternative coming from the left. There's no one on the left in office, daily going against this stuff, using their bully pulpit to point this out. Let's finish it.
Second Amendment rights. She wants to stop constitutional carry, which is exactly what our state legislators and our governors should be pursuing right now. They should be passing it and signing it into law. But yeah, no, Democrats, they hate our Second Amendment because ultimately the truth is it's our Second Amendment rights, our right to bear arms that protect Americans and give us the ability to defend ourselves from a tyrannical government. And I hate to use this language, but Democrats, they're doing exactly what our founders talked about when they gave us these precious rights that we have. And no one wants violence. And I say it all the time. I'm not a violent person, and I hope to never see a civil war in this country. And that's why you hear me toss around national divorce.
National divorce. This mentally ill fascist wants to break up America. Do it. Do it. Go ahead, Texas. Secede. Secede from the Union. Go ahead, Georgia. Secede from the Union. Tell me how that works out. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
Because the federal government has grown so big.
Divorce.
And the Democrats are willing to use the power of the federal government that it really violates people's rights. And this is why state rights are so important. And it's a shame. We shouldn't think that way. But, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But we always have to make sure that we're defending our Second Amendment rights and making sure that our state rights are protected.
They cannot wait to shoot lefties. They are chomping at the bit to pull the trigger on left. Self-defense! Self-defense! Oh, self-defense over there! Trump is a fucking pussy. Listen to this bitch. Listen to this. Listen to this whiny fucking child.
Let me ask about another piece of news here. South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds, as I think you know, was on ABC over the weekend. He spoke about the 2020 election and also referred to the election campaign that is now starting in 2022. Let's listen.
We simply did not win the election as Republicans for the presidency. And if we simply look back and tell our people don't vote because, there's cheating going on, then we're going to put ourselves in a huge disadvantage.
A couple of things to ask about there, Mr. President. Let's start with the politics. Is it a disadvantage for Republicans to keep talking about the 2020 election in 2022?
No, I think it's an advantage because otherwise they're going to do it again in 22 and 24. And Rounds is wrong on
Gee, I wonder if any other party wins except, Trump's select people in his party wins. I wonder if there's going to be fraud allegations from this guy.
Totally wrong. If you look at the numbers, if you look at the findings in Arizona, if you look at what's going on in Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, by the way, and take a look at Wisconsin, they're finding things that nobody thought possible. This was a corrupt election.
I just have to point out Doug Logan, to name one of the states that you just named. Doug Logan, who ran the audit in Arizona that was set up by your allies, didn't find serious problems. This is a quote: "The ballots that were provided to us to count in the Coliseum very accurately correlate with the official canvass numbers." He raised a bunch of administrative issues, but didn't find a problem that would have changed the result at all.
The ballots may correspond, but look at the ballots themselves. The number of ballots doesn't mean anything. It's who signed the ballots, where did the ballots come from. What you really have to do in that report is look at the findings. And the findings are devastating for Arizona. They're devastating like nobody's seen before.
Why did
states are just as bad.
Why did Republican officials in Arizona accept the results then?
Because they're rhinos, and frankly, a lot of people are questioning that. Why would they? They fought very hard, the Maricopa County people.
I got to say, there is one thing that Donald Trump says in this speech that I totally agree with, and I'll point it out.
And people don't understand it because all you have to do is look at the findings. And just so you know, some of those people went before Congress.
They're not real Republicans.
A short while ago, and they were grilled by Congressman Biggs. You ought to take a look at their testimony. They weren't able to answer anything. He made them look like fools. They couldn't answer a thing. They got up and gave a beautiful statement, and then when it came time to ask why this, why that, what about these votes, what about those votes, they looked like total fools.
Let me read you some short quotes. The first is by one of the judges, one of the 10 judges you appointed who ruled on this, and there were many judges, but 10 who you appointed. Brett Ludwig, U.S. District Court in Wisconsin, who was nominated by you in 2020. He's on the bench, and he says, quote, "This court allowed the plaintiff the chance to make his case, and he has lost on the merits." Another quote, Corey Langhofer, your own campaign attorney in Arizona, November 12, 2020, quote, "We are not alleging fraud in this lawsuit. We are not alleging anyone stealing the election." And also Rudy Giuliani, your lawyer, November 18, 2020 in Pennsylvania, quote, "This is not a fraud case." Your own lawyers had no evidence of fraud. They said in court they had no evidence of fraud, and the judges ruled against you every time on the merits.
It was too early to ask for fraud and to talk about fraud. Rudy said that because of the fact it was very early, because that was obviously at a that was a long time ago. The things that have found out have more than bore out what people thought and what people felt and what people found. When you look at Langhofer, I disagree with him as an attorney. I did not think he was a good attorney to hire. I don't know what his game is, but I will just say this. You look at the findings, you look at the number of votes, go into Detroit and just ask yourself, is it true that there are more votes than there are voters? Look at Pennsylvania.
That's not true.
Philadelphia. Is it true that there were far more votes than there were voters?
It is not true that there were far.
Tough thing
it
that's
is not
a pretty
true.
Tough problem.
It is not true that there were far more votes than voters. There was an early count. I've noticed you've talked about this in rallies, and you've said reportedly this is true. I think even you know that was an early report that was corrected later.
Well, you take a look at it. You take a look at Detroit. In fact, they even had a hard time getting people to sign off on it because it was so out of balance. They called it out of balance. So you take a look at it. You know the real truth, Steve.
No, you know the truth.
This election was a rigged election.
Why is it that you think that the vast majority of your allies in the United States Senate are not standing behind you? We did have that statement by Mike Rounds.
Rhinos.
Because Mitch McConnell is a loser. And frankly, Mitch McConnell, if he...
God damn it. Why do you have to say something so awesome? God, fuck you, Trump. Why'd you have to say something so fucking awesome? One more time.
That you think that the vast majority of your allies in the United States Senate are not standing behind you. We did have that statement by Mike Rounds.
Because Mitch McConnell is a loser. And frankly, Mitch McConnell, if he were on the other side and if Schumer were put in his position, he would have been fighting this like you've never seen before. He would have been fighting this because when you look at it, and this is a long way from over.
I mean, I hate the man. He's an absolute tyrannical. I mean, it's hard to call him a fascist because it's like he doesn't believe in anything but Trump. It's like he's a Trumpist, right? But God damn it.
He's a loser.
I mean, there's just no one else in politics who will say that about Mitch McConnell. And it's a goddamn shame. You know, it just really is. AOC should call Mitch McConnell a loser. AOC should call Nancy Pelosi a loser. She should call Hillary Clinton a loser. Oh, we're bringing politics down. We're slinging mud. Don't give me that above the fucking fray nonsense. This is about winning. This is about politics. This isn't about staying friends at the end of the debate. Get that fucking conciliatory shit out of my fucking face, okay? This is hardcore, to the bone, slit your throat politics. Yeah, Mitch McConnell's a loser.
Take a look at what's going on now in Pennsylvania. Take a look at what's going on in Wisconsin. What's just take a look. Now, we had a lot of cases where the judges wouldn't hear them. We had a case in Nevada.
The cases were thrown out early because lawyers, when they were we're going to hear this case. Can I see your evidence? They were like, well, we don't want to lose our license, so we're not going to present a bunch of false and nonsense as evidence. So we really don't have any evidence. Oh, okay. Well, then the case is getting thrown out. I guess we don't have a case here. You have no proof to back up your claims. Yeah. Well, I mean, we have lots of data and lots of papers, but none of it actually proves anything when put under scrutiny. And, and if we might lose our license if we waste the court's time like this. So, can we just go through with it anyway? Judge was like, no. That happened dozens of times out of the 61 lawsuits they filed.
That was so good. When you read the papers, it's impossible. The judge refused to even listen to it. We had many cases. In fact, they say, and I can't testify because
so many cases
through a lot of systems, a lot of different systems. But they say, and they say very strongly, the judges nobody's really gotten a chance to look at the United States Supreme Court. They refused to hear the case. And you had,
they said there was no standing to give the case.
No standing.
Well,
Can I just
no
ask?
standing. I know. No standing. And the President of the United States supposedly didn't have standing either. So I wanted to file it myself. They said, sir, you don't have standing. I said, wait a minute. I'm the President of the United States.
Yeah, no, that doesn't mean you can just make up evidence, dude. This isn't communist China. This isn't fucking Russia, kangaroo court. You actually have to present some legitimate evidence.
They just rigged an election. Hundreds of thousands of votes in different states. They just rigged an election. We got a number of votes that I think you'll agree no sitting president has ever gotten the number of votes that I got. No sitting president has ever gotten sitting president.
Literally, that's the only statement he's made that's factual outside of Mitch is a loser.
Nobody believes. You think Biden got 80 million votes?
It's true.
Absolutely
it's true that you got more than any sitting
in
president in the election you disputed.
How come he couldn't?
If I can, Mr. President.
Let me ask you this question. How come Biden couldn't attract 20 people for a crowd? How come when he went to speak in different locations, nobody came to watch, but all of a sudden he got 80 million votes? Nobody believes
If you'll forgive me, maybe because
Nobody
the election was about you. If I can just move on to ask, are you telling Republicans in 2022 that they must press your case on the past election in order to get your endorsement? Is that an absolute?
They're going to do whatever they want to do. Whatever they have to do, they're going to do.
They better kiss the ring.
They better
do whatever they got to do.
No, you take a look at how Carrie Lake is doing, running for governor. She's very big on this issue. She's leading by a lot. People have no idea how big this issue is, and they don't want it to happen again. It shouldn't be allowed to happen, and they don't want it to happen again. And the only way it's not going to happen again is you have to solve the problem of the presidential rigged election of 2020.
Mr. President, if I'm... Wait, one more question. I want to ask about a court hearing yesterday on January 6th. Judge Amit Mehta. He's gone. Okay.
He's gone. There you go. What a coward. What a coward. He just literally talks over the guy. I really like how this fella here, the person doing the interview was totally ready for his bullshit, he spent I think he spent a lot of time getting ready for this interview, and Trump just bails. Boy, I saw this statement on Reddit. It was totally accurate. It's like, snowflakes really can't handle the heat, can they? Oh! I mean, literally, are there any better examples of a snowflake than a modern Republican? The people who make a career out of being a victim. it's beyond ironic that they sit around and call people weak and snowflake and, you can't handle the truth and facts over feelings. The moment the facts trump their fucking opinions and principles, it's all feelings. It's all feelings. Let's see. What should I end the stream on? Jimmy Dore or Boris? Let's end the stream on Jimmy Dore. Boris. This is good. I mean, I like Marianne Williamson. She's not perfect. I don't think anyone is. But she, unlike every other candidate I've seen, Marianne Williamson talks about and understands the despair, the societal despair, the pain and anguish that is being felt by tens of millions of people, Americans, but not just Americans, but when we're talking about America. She's the only one that was on the debate stage talking about love. I think if Marianne Williamson was elected president, it would literally be FDR 2.0. We would be pulling out of wars. We'd be sending everybody COVID tests, free vaccines. We'd probably be paying people to get the vaccine. We'd be getting COVID checks, single-payer health care. I mean, you name it. She is obviously the choice, the progressive choice, right? And I've seen this on occasion from her. She's not afraid to call people out either, which is what absolutely is needed in this political world, in this political arena. With that said, historically, it's never been successful to primary a sitting president from your own party. So, but guys, we're post-Trump. We're post-precedent when it comes to what's possible with electoral politics. This is not the 1990s or even early 2000s, where an organization like 536 or whatever the fuck, Nate Silver, can basically, the elections can become so predictable that you could turn it into a mathematical science and basically predict the election. That's why his predictions went all fucking wackadoodle with Hillary Clinton and Trump. There's a new paradigm. And Joe Biden is a weak president. And the neoliberals are a weak party. So if there was ever a moment in history where a progressive could primary the sitting president from the left, it is now. We are absolutely in uncharted waters. We are in the post-Trump era. Anybody that tells you they know what's going to happen definitively is lying to you. With that said, if the neoliberals don't act, I feel rather confident that they're going to get smashed in 2022 and 2024, and I'd put money on that shit right now.
We talked about how Marianne Williamson is a name being floated now to primary Biden in 2024. And I'm for it, Love it. Go watch that video. I lay out all of my reasons as to why I think it makes sense. Well, she's clearly thinking about it at least a little bit, because she just went on Fox News here. Jesse Waters has a new Fox News show. They should call it the Smug Frat Boy Prick Hour, but I don't think they're going to do that. She's going to drop some truth bombs right on top of Jesse's head. So let's watch this, and then we'll come back and dissect her messaging and determine whether or not it's sufficient if you're going to take a crack at being president.
So, Marianne, are you considering primarying President Joe Biden?
No, like many people, I'm thinking very deeply about what's going on in this country. And I realize that the horse race is not the conversation that most matters. To listen to Fox, to listen to CNN, to listen to MSNBC, it's all about left versus right, isn't it? But I don't think that that's the real political divide that most matters in this country. I think that's kind of a cartoonish version of the political divide in this country that makes billions of dollars for political forces and media forces. The real political divide in this country, Jesse, is between the powerful and the powerless. And the powerful few are headquartered in both major political parties. It is the corporate-backed forces, whether it's big pharmaceutical companies, big oil companies, military defense contractors, etc., that are obstructing the financial well-being and the greater economic and professional and just personal opportunities of the American people.
That's right.
That's what
I
concerns
would agree
me.
with
Whether or
that.
not they
That
run
there's
for office, I
definitely
don't know.
a big.
Would you agree with that, you fucking corporatist? Really? Point by point, go down to tell me how you agree with that fucking complete statement. This fucking guy. I agree.
Guy versus little guy scenario, and that's always been the case, and that's something this country has to address.
Oh, really?
In your opinion, as a progressive
Is that
Democrat,
what you think,
if you
Jesse?
still label yourself like that, where do you think President Joe Biden's biggest failures have been so far in year one?
Not pushing back. The biggest failures of Joe Biden, to me, are the same as the biggest failures of Donald Trump and Barack Obama and every president in modern history, which is a refusal to take on in any fundamental way the dominance of these corporate forces.
That's right.
I mean, if you look at the
That's
actual
right.
economic opportunities of the
A full
average American,
acquiescence to the
have they really
military-industrial
been
complex
that
as well.
different, no matter who?
That's a winning message.
All right, one more time.
Which is a refusal to take on in any fundamental way the dominance of these corporate forces. I mean, if you look at the actual economic opportunities of the average American, have they really been that different, no matter who?
That's a winning
That's it. That's a winning message.
Now, understand something. I told you guys it's never worked that you primary.
Okay. So he goes on to explain it doesn't work. It's a winning message. She's the right candidate. She would do well. That's a strong, successful message that would get her far. So he goes on to explain that, and I agree. I agree with Kyle's take here. You want to watch the rest of his take? Here you go. Go ahead. I mean, honestly, fuck Jimmy Dore at this point. Really. I mean, I'm not even saying that from like a shit lib perspective. It's just fuck Jimmy Dore, dude. I don't know what he's turned into. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this anti-vax scaremongering. He's out here calling Omicron, the symptoms from Omicron, light, like cold, like mild cold symptoms. I'm absolutely flabbergasted that he's saying that. You got the WHO out here saying, oh, it's still a deadly disease and people are dying daily from it. And you got Jimmy out here repeating what sounds like right-wing talking, anti-vax talking points. Okay? It's disgusting that he would come out and say, oh, yeah, definitively, Omicron gives you light symptoms. How many people has Jimmy gotten infected with that kind of advice?
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes total sense.
Yo, what up, Curry? How you doing? So Mike does this little skit where he pretends to receive a call from the CIA, about because apparently Jimmy Dore, one of his defenses against these, these people that call him out is that they're CIA informants. So we're just going to skip that part of the news clip here.
Tool Jimmy Dore, little by little, is letting the mask slip off more and more. And what's funny to me is that people in his vicinity are just going full mask off. For example, Kim Iverson, supposed leftist, just admitted on Twitter that she's voting straight Republican, which I, for one, am incredibly shocked by. I never saw this coming. And it's not like they're even trying to hide the fact that they're doing the bidding of the right. Jimmy Dore, for example, after seeing the right-wing meltdown after Ethan Klein of H3 attacked Joe Rogan, which was hilarious, by the way. I did a video on that.
It wasn't that funny, okay? And it wasn't that substantive either. H3 should really stop commenting on politics. It is literally pathetic. He is so uninformed. Honestly, I think he means well. He's clearly on the left. Good for you, but his heart's not in it, man. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it. He kind of reminds me of the person that wants to have a political opinion about everything, but is too pampered and comfortable to actually put in the work to research it. That Leftovers podcast that he created with Hassan is a joke. Literally, it might as well be called What's Up with the Right Wing Today? H3H3, have you covered a single progressive activist on the streets? Have you covered a single left activist actually getting something done? Or have you done nothing but talk about Ben Shapiro and all these others? All these others on the right wing. You think Steven Crowder needs more eyeballs? I'm not saying don't call these fascists out, but when you dedicate an entire fucking show to talking about the opponent, while not addressing the problems of the left or what the left is doing or where the left is going, you're doing a favor, and it's at the bare minimum, you're just entertainment. And I think Ethan would be okay with that. Oh yeah, it's political entertainment. That's not fucking good enough. H3H3. Pick up your nuts.
He didn't even...
I don't know why I said that.
bother to come up with some creative response. He literally just swagger jacked Andy Ngo and called Ethan an obese podcaster. I mean, they're not even trying to hide the fact that they're right-wingers now.
God damn, dude. Well, I mean, I don't know. That you can't say that. Yeah, okay. Swagger jacked. Okay, don't be a shit lib, Mike Figurino. Okay, just because Jimmy calls Ethan obese, that doesn't mean he's swagger jacking Andy Ngo. What does that even mean? All right, gonna hop off. Need to get some food. Well, thank you, Curry, for stopping by, even for 5 seconds. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hope you're doing well. Swagger jacking. You know, the communist left does a lot of swagger jacking, if you ask me. Leave out the swagger.
But the plausible deniability that they had left is further diminishing, especially now because Jimmy Dore is choosing to attack the least powerful people in the country. Teachers and trans people. So I have 2 clips from Jimmy Dore that I want to play for you. We'll talk about the teachers thing first. But before I show you what he said, I just want to show you what cable news pundits said about teachers who dared to want to resume remote learning to not get COVID.
If you don't want to teach, don't teach.
Yeah.
Quit. It's called live.
Excuse me, Morning Joe?
With it. Go to work. Live with it.
Go to work. Live with it. Live with it, says the pampered millionaire who works at a company that mandates vaccines. Live with it. Beyond insulting.
So that's the message from corporate media being disseminated by their proxies in cable news. And that's what they say. And as you're going to see here, Jimmy Dore is basically going to have the same argument, except ironically
about whether they should open the school.
Establishment news. So very funny. Take a look.
There's a big debate about whether they should open the schools because of COVID and because the Omicron is so much more contagious. Omicron, the symptoms of Omicron are very mild.
That is not true. That is not true. I read an article just yesterday from a legitimate source referencing scientists studying this. They're saying it's basically like Delta or maybe a little lighter. God damn, dude. For this childless guy to go, yeah, your kids should go back to school. Meh. If they get sick, meh, it won't be that bad. Meh. What the fuck? Pot-smoking admitted jackass Jimmy Dore giving you medical advice about Omicron months after it's been discovered. Big fat L. Big fat L, dude. He admits it. I'm a jackass comedian. So why are you giving me health advice, Jimmy?
Or contagious.
One more time.
Take a look.
There's a big debate about whether they should open the schools because of COVID and because Omicron is so much more contagious. Omicron, the symptoms of Omicron are very mild, and they're like a cold.
No, they're
and
not.
A lot of people are saying that
They're like, if you're vaccinated, a lot of these children are not. This motherfucking guy.
Good, because that signals the end of the pandemic, because now we're going to become endemic, and now it will just circulate, and the symptoms that it will present with are those of a cold. Even though it's not, it's the Omicron cold. So everybody shitting their pants about kids having to go to school are just repeating propaganda from big pharma-funded establishment news.
Are the teachers' unions and students that are walking out after dozens of them get infected and sick and some of them die? Are they all infected with corporate pharmaceutical news? Really? Are their concerns just throw it out the window because you're watching MSNBC? Go ahead and get the Omicron cold. Look, I'm not about to agree with Emma Vigeland and motherfucking what's his nuts, the other one, Tom Sizemore. All right, look, I think they are shit. They are shit liberals. They really are. They really are. Sam Cedar, that was the guy I was thinking of. I don't agree with Sam Cedar or Emma Vigeland, okay? And their crusade against Jimmy Dore. But frankly, fuck Emma Vigeland, fuck Sam Cedar, and motherfuck Jimmy Dore. Just get out of the way of progressives at this point. Don't be telling me to vote Elizabeth Warren, Emma. What a joke.
Congratulations. Do you know the damage that is done to kids not being socialized in schools?
This, I can't disagree with. But if you're a parent and you're choosing your child's, potentially your child's life, who knows? Your kid might get long COVID. Who knows? Especially if they're unvaccinated. Who knows? There are kids in the ICU hooked up to ventilators right now, Jimmy, with the Omicron cold, getting pure oxygen pumped into them because they got a cold. So if you're a parent, you have to choose. Well, socializing my child like a normal kid, or protecting them from a deadly virus. That is not a cold, Jimmy.
We don't even know, but it's great.
What? No one's saying this is a great situation, Jimmy. No one's saying the fact that kids have to learn at home on Zoom is a great thing, Jimmy.
Teacher union are so fear-mongered, they just voted to end in-person school. They are at a higher risk of contracting the Omicron cold.
Omicron cold. Shit is straight up disgusting at this point, man.
Yes. Yeah. They are at a less risk for severe disease. So what you're saying is we're using the word risk now to describe the symptoms of a cold. So kids are at greater risk of catching something that will present as a cold.
Top 5 Zoe reported symptoms. So this is the early London data, right? Most common, runny nose. Second most common, headache. Third most common, fatigue. Sometimes the fatigue was bad. Sometimes
top 5 symptoms reported in the ZOE app. We're using poll data from an app. From a free app that not everybody is using. This is the definitive data. This is the definitive source that we're using to make your conclusion that the Omicron is a cold. Holy shit. I honestly can't believe I ever defended this fucking moron.
It was mild. Fourth most common feature, sneezing. Fifth most common feature, sore throat. The implication is obvious. If you have any of these, And you've had colds in the past. You're going to think it's a cold, but it may well not be. It may be a Omicron cold. Need to get tested.
So there you have it. That's what people are locking down to avoid that.
Is this Obama freed the gays? What is this? What is this up here? Nickety89? I'm sorry, is this... What is that?
They think it's to avoid something more deadly. They're misinformed. Why? Because they're getting their information from the establishment. I'll tell you what I think. We should keep them open and kids should be going to schools.
Funny, you know who else thinks this? Joe Biden. I wonder if Jimmy Dore is getting his talking points from the DNC.
Shut
what
up.
a shitlib.
Shitlib.
Now, on a more serious note, it's really easy for someone like Jimmy Dore to say this as he broadcasts remotely from his home studio in his garage.
And he doesn't have kids.
He wants society to feel normal, so he wants you to go back to work and possibly jeopardize your own health if you're a teacher. It's just incredibly selfish. And there's a number of reasons why resuming remote learning is actually logical and less disruptive. Because if you have so many teachers getting sick and so many of them are staying home, then of course that's going to be disruptive to students. And the teachers who are getting sick, they're out of sick days in many instances. So they're expected to come in while they're positive with COVID, which will obviously...
While they're making $30,000 or $40,000 a year. Let's just go ahead and pile this obligation on them next. Is there any wonder why teachers, nurses, all these people are fucking leaving in droves? Would you be a teacher? Would you be a teacher right now? Not only do you have to put up with some fucking pukes kid, some person who doesn't give a shit about raising a child, right? You see these kids all the time talking back, being real assholes, right? Teacher can't do anything. So you got to put up with all that nonsense. I mean, I just remember my time in high school. I fucking tortured my teachers. I was a fucking prick. I'm shocked I even graduated, to be honest with you. It was the patience and kindness of those teachers that saved my future. Because if I was a teacher teaching me when I was a teenager, I'd be kicking my ass right out the class. So not only do you got to put up with little shitheads like me in your classroom, but now you got to deal with potentially catching a deadly fucking disease. And you're going to do that job for $30,000, $40,000 a year?
Expose other people, and that will further exacerbate the issue of hospitals being overrun, which is a real key issue as to why we need not just teachers, but as many people as possible to stay home currently. Because once again, hospitals are being overrun. And this time it may be worse because Omicron, even if it's more mild, is more contagious. So that is leading to more hospital workers getting sick and staying home. It's leading to staffing shortages.
It is absolutely not 100% proven that it's more mild. Okay. I've seen conflicting reports back and forth. I'm seeing studies say, well, it seems to be on par with Delta. Oh, maybe it's a little less. Okay. I've honestly haven't read an article that says the symptoms are mild, even for unvaccinated people. I have seen conflicting reports, though, right? But I just feel really uncomfortable saying definitively that the symptoms are overall more mild right now. How long have we been dealing with this variant? 2 months? I just don't like having that kind of certainty with your language, with that kind of situation. I just don't.
Shortages that are causing more excess deaths than necessary. And going back to teachers, it's not just the teachers who are being selfish here, as many right-wingers will argue. Even the students at Brooklyn Tech walked out in protest of in-person learning because, like most reasonable people, they don't want to get sick.
Oh yeah, they're watching MSNBC, so they're poisoning the corporate media. They should just willingly get a Omicron cold. Just get the cold, guys. By the way, you can get infected multiple times, right? Like we're gonna reach herd immunity. I don't think so. That has not been the case with COVID, where you get antibodies that protect you from COVID in the future, like the chickenpox. That is not the case. You can get reinfected with the same virus. People got reinfected with Delta. And the one before that, was it Mu? M-U-I?
And that's not to say that everything that Jimmy Dore said in that clip is wrong. He's right that there are possibly negative effects of doing remote learning. Kids feel isolated. There are social issues. We're right about that.
Yeah.
If he cared about this, he would advocate for people to get vaccinated. But he's an anti-vaxxer who has been fear-mongering about the vaccines, the one thing that might possibly stop hospitals from being overrun.
It's true.
So
it's true. He does the fucking, you should don't get the vaccine, get the monoclonal antibodies. Maybe if I had thousands of dollars to spend on those treatments, Jimmy, maybe. I probably wouldn't, though. Because why in the fuck would I want to go to the hospital or doctor multiple times to get an expensive treatment when I can go to fucking Walgreens, get a free shot, and I'm good to go? Oh, I must be inundated with medical propaganda because I don't see the benefit of spending thousands of dollars for multiple treatments instead of just getting a simple vaccine. He pulls that shit. He's talking about ivermectin. He wants so badly to get back on fucking Joe Rogan's show. So badly.
It's just all around, he's very selfish. And if you just think about his argument a little bit, it's mild, so just pretend like it doesn't exist. Would you do that if this weren't a pandemic even? I mean, if I were going to go to a birthday party and I knew that one of the other attendees were sick with the cold or flu, I wouldn't want to go to that. I wouldn't just think, oh, well, the symptoms are mild, so I might as well go.
Let's get
no,
the flu.
I wouldn't want to get sick. I wouldn't want someone to cough on me if they just had the cold. So, I mean, it's just he is really expecting other people to do what he himself wouldn't do. And it's the definition of selfishness. It's the antithesis of being pro-labor. But yet, he's the real leftist. He is the leader of all leftism, and he's the gatekeeper, and he decides who's the most leftist. It's just truly laughable. At this point, if you still think that Jimmy Dore is a left-winger, I mean, I don't know what to say.
I wouldn't classify him as a left-winger or a right-winger. I don't know. I'd classify him as a bit of an opportunist, frankly.
But moving on to the trans issue. So Patton Oswalt is friends with Dave Chappelle, and he posted a picture of himself.
Okay, this is muddy. You know where I stand on this. It's not canceling somebody when you're like, hey, guy that has claimed to support trans rights, you're aware that your friend of 35 years is vociferously, proudly anti-trans, saying in his special, I am a TERF. That basically says, I am a feminist that wants to exclude trans people. And I'm proud of that. And let me justify that by telling you a story about my trans friend. Would Dave Chappelle let me be racist because I had a black friend? Do you think he'd let me get away with that? Would Dave Chappelle be canceling me if I was outwardly racist, but I said, well, my black friend said it was okay? Do you think Dave Chappelle would give me a fucking break on that one? You think I'd get a bunch of people in my comments defending me saying, oh, you just need to see the whole thing? Just obviously you haven't watched the special. The motherfucker said, I am a TERF. Trans exclusionary radical feminist. Those two words are the most important. Trans exclusionary. It's not canceling Patton Oswalt by hitting him up on Twitter and saying, yo, bro, you're aware this guy's pretty anti-trans, right?
With Dave Chappelle, and then I'm not really sure if he got backlash or pushback. Either way, he felt the need to explain himself and say
okay, Jimmy Dore talks some shit. Patton Oswalt makes his statement. Jimmy Dore's an ignorant fuck. I'm done talking about him. I'm done. Dumpstered. Get the fuck out of my face, Jimmy fucking Dore. Anti-vax. Go take some monoclonal antibodies, you fucking rich son of a bitch. I'm gonna sit here with my free vaccine, getting my Omicron cold. Man. All right, so let's go ahead and end the stream on some international news. Quite a scandal hitting the conservatives over there in the UK. Apparently, they held a big fucking party that no one knew about. And, you know, a bunch of people got COVID, and he's coming out with the excuses. Listen to some of these excuses that he's getting called out for. He's literally trying to say, I didn't even know it was a party. Oh, it was a party. I didn't know.
Never followed any rules. He does what he wants, and he gets away with it every time. The Prime Minister can't get away with it again. Will the Prime Minister finally do the decent thing and resign, or will his Tory MPs be forced to show him the door?
He's sorry because he's been caught.
No, exactly. Where was the statement of sorrow before he was busted? Crickets.
He is bang to rights. So when my constituents were making unimaginable
sacrifices,
unimaginable decisions, he was hosting a boozy party in Downing Street. So how does he think he can still maintain the one rule for him and another for the rest of us? He cannot, and he must resign.
His defence that he didn't realise he was at a party.
Mr. Speaker, it's up to the right honourable gentleman to choose how he conducts himself in this case. He's wrong. He's wrong. I say to him that he is wrong.
The only question is, will the British public kick him out? Will his party kick him out? Or will he do the decent thing and resign?
I don't think he's resigning, homie.
Trust has been lost, and the public will not forgive or forget.
No,
if the
I don't
Prime
know about
Minister
that,
has no sense of shame.
The Tories have gotten away with all kinds of other shit. You think this is going to be the thing that fucking... I don't know, man. They've bungled their entire COVID response from the very beginning, and still seems pretty popular. I don't know what to say, be honest with you. But I don't think this is going to be the thing that takes him down. I would be surprised. Oh, newsflash, politicians are hypocritical and lie to you. People are so cynical now, they just expect it and they hand wave it all away.
Then the Tory backbenchers must act to remove him. They know the damage is done. This weak and contentious Prime Minister can no longer limp on. The message from the public is clear. Remove this unfit Prime Minister from office and do it now.
Yeah, I agree.
Today's apology is too little, too late. If the Prime Minister was sincere, he could have apologised at any stage over the past 18 months, rather than waiting until he was found out.
There is no doubt that he is morally distant from the rest of us across these nations, and the best thing he can do now is resign, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I refer to the answer I gave earlier on.
He's tarnished the reputation of Lord Geit, and now he's making fools of every single MP who cheered him earlier. Every single one who goes out on the radio and television to defend this shower of shenanigans.
You're going to need a smaller
shower of
because
shenanigans.
Now you can take all those supplements.
Oh boy, the British have a way with words. Shower of shenanigans. The hooligans are loose. The hooligans. Oh, that was great. I keep my fingers crossed, folks, for the Tories getting fucked over, but don't hold your breath. There's something about politically uninformed people who are under duress. They reflexively look to strongmen or people that are perceived as strongmen for the answers. So I can kind of understand why the Tories are still in power. It's also really easy to be a Tory, to be a right-winger, when the left wing is so beholden to corporate interests that there's just certain limits to what they'll call out. There's certain limits to what the neoliberal left here in America and the left in other countries are willing to call out because they are benefiting themselves. Only until we get politicians who are not enriching themselves will we get actual real debate, actual real pushback against corporatism. Anyway, big props to my boy Curry. Thank you for stopping in. You're the only one here. I don't give a shit. You get that Garbage Fuel Award of the day. Garbage Fuel would like to thank you for participating in today's stream. Curry 12. Absolute baller. Absolute baller. So big props to you, Curry 12. Now, as I leave, let me remind you, it's a 3-step program to create political change in this motherfucking world. It's just this simple. It's a 3-step program. Step 1, inform yourself. Step 2, join a progressive organization. Step 3, treat that shit like a motherfucking job. This ain't fun. This ain't fun and games. This is politics. This is work. This is blood, sweat, and tears. The only time you should be smiling is when you're winning. That's the only time you should be smiling, is when you're fucking taking down your enemy politically. Not with a gun, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You want a divorce? You're a mentally ill fascist. Peace in that motherfucking Middle East. We'll see you tomorrow. Motherfuck fascism. Fuck you, Jimmy D.